Hello, Powerhouse Smart friends and colleagues. We're here again for another episode of the PowerHouse Cool Collabs Podcast. My favorite thing I do all week long. I get to interview and have conversations with the coolest leaders in the luxury world, and it doesn't have to be luxury, but just in our humanity, and that live with an attitude of gratitude and believe in helping humanity. So today I have a newer friend of mine, at least after I did all my research about her, I want her to be my soul sister because I love everything about her. But as you know, this is commutable and we only have a few precious 20 to 25 minutes. So I always like to let our guests introduce themselves. I want to give them as much chance to share their wisdom. So without further ado, Nikki Peters, please welcome to our podcast and share your story about who you are.
Thank you so much, Wendy. What a pleasure it is to be on your podcast today. And I am so excited that you're doing this. It is really neat that you're bringing together so many different perspectives to help the real estate industry and just getting a lot of in today, including wellness, which is a wonderful perspective to have. It's a growing market, so I'm excited to talk about that. But yes, I am a well-being intelligence expert. I focus on how environments from homes to workplaces help shape how people live, work, and perform.
Wow, a well-being and environment. Say that again. That was so.
Well-being, well-being intelligence expert.
That's it. The intelligence part. I love that. I've done a lot of research about you, and everything I read was like, oh, I love this and I love that. So, I'm trying to get, if I had to make like an overview, like, who is Nikki? And she's got so many things she's going to share with us today. But, if people were going to say, what is the essence of who you are besides your beautiful phrase? Tell us, what is it working day to day with businesses? Is it working with just people? Tell us, please.
Yeah, well, I have had 20 years plus experience in health and human performance. And I work with companies, I work with individuals, I work as a consultant with different types of groups to help them infuse wellness into their environments. But who is Nikki? Gosh, I think that's a question I'm still asking myself, Wendy.
Of course, we all are.
I I actually wrote a book and published it this last year called Know Thyself, and the tagline is 100 Courageous Questions. So I feel like I am someone who really values human human possibility and what is possible here on earth through connection to yourself, to your community, to the God of your understanding. And my perspective is that we're here just for a short period of time to serve one another and help one another. And the aspect of well-being for me is big because when you don't have your wellness, you don't have, you know, purpose, and all of the other things go out the window because you're dealing with your illness at that point. And so I feel that wellness is a fundamental basis for human performance and thriving in life, and where we work and the buildings we work in, and our homes and all of that is a big proponent of how well we are.
Wow, wow, I love that. So, how did you get into the wellness business? Where did you start from for the younger generation that are listening to this?
Yeah, I started actually I double majored in kinesiology, exercise science, and my other major was music, vocal performance. So I sang opera.
Wow, I love that.
Not a lot of people know that. But I ended up getting into personal training. I got into the yoga industry. It was not an industry at the time that I got into it, but I was finding my own health journey. Yoga really helped me with my own health journey, and so I kind of got into that industry just as it was coming up, and that was the introduction of entrepreneurship for me, of really being a part of someone else's vision and helping them to grow their vision, and really pouring myself all into that and feeling, what that was like. And oh, I loved it. It was a great 10-year run in my career of helping to build the world's largest yoga brand. And during that time, I got an invitation to come in and teach inside of a company. And I started realizing that, wow, there's a whole nother market of people out here who are stationary for most of the day. They're sitting, they are tired, they're on screens all day. And that really kind of has catapulted the next decade of my life. I have founded Studio 9 to 5, which brings wellness to the workplace. And we also work with residential properties, commercial property buildings, and event centers. And I also helped get another company up and running that deals with blue light protection from your devices.
Okay.
So just a lot of different, ways in which our lifestyles are affecting our well-being. And so that's been my path. My entrepreneurship path was, I didn't set out to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know what I was going to do when I grew up, type of thing. And here we are. I think you just take one step at a time, and for me, it's how do you serve? How can I best serve in this situation? And that's what I continue to ask myself, and that's what continues to grow my business.
Wow. I, I think that's brilliant for, and I've said that over and over, but yet still the younger generation, you're a great role model in sharing that, you do have a double degree, so you're creative and artsy, but, and then you found yoga to help yourself in health, and then you turned on the business side of things, which is
Yeah.
not typically left brain, right brain, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
I was always I think I was always very business minded, was always great with math. But I really got into it. I really got into, I learned a lot about, just the process of what it takes to make a company run and be successful, and what it takes to prepare a company for exit, because I was a part of all of that. And yeah, it's a entrepreneurship is a whole nother like ocean that you
Yeah.
dive into.
Yeah.
And many of you probably are entrepreneurs out there as well, or even W-9 contractors figuring out, how you want to make your lives work with multiple different streams of income. And so for me, like following my passion and following my purpose has always been the guiding direction for where I'm going next.
Yeah. Oh, no, I love it. So from entrepreneurship with Core Power for 10 years, and what a beautiful story. And of course, my kids were members and are members, and it's great. And then deciding that you could see the value in helping humanity by opening this up to businesses, and how important is that? Oh my gosh, wow. So would you say today, because that's 9 to 5, right? But then I
Mhm.
saw 9 to 5, and then of course you wrote a book, and you're a keynote speaker, and I could go on, and we will go there too in a minute. But would you say today how do you keep all these different balls in the air? How much time do you spend on, the actual business consulting with big companies and small? How much time you spend on your community? That's like Powerhouse Smart's my community. And I'm like you, I have two businesses, you have more than two. And then how much time you spend on other things. So share with that, please.
Well, I will admit, Wendy, I'm a terrible time management person. I'm
Okay.
I'm working on it. But I actually, the way my brain works is that I've learned is that I need to follow where the flow is. So if I have a few hours to get work done, I try not to put myself in a workable format where I need to do this and this. I mean, deadlines do help me for sure, um, but I if I need to write something, or I need to, produce something, or whatever it may be, I need to be in a state of flow. So I give myself the ability to be in a flow state. And then I try and get my body primed, my mind primed for thinking on a broader scale, so that I can then, deliver whatever needs to come through, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so that would just be from a creation standpoint. Entrepreneurs need to step away to, take care of the big vision. And if they don't do that, they end up being just business owners. They don't end up being visionaries or people who are pushing the envelope of things. So um, I say that creative side and giving yourself space is important. But then beyond that, I do have some structure within my day. I always like to start in the morning with prayer and meditation. I do breathing exercises and I move my body all within about 30 minutes. So it's not a long time, but I do try to get all of that in right away in the morning. And then I'll start into my workflow in the morning. I usually move my body at some point around the noon hour. I still like to be in my business and be delivering content or delivering services or being on site inside of a company whenever I can. So sometimes I'm speaking, sometimes I'm teaching a class, whatever it may be. And then the afternoons, often I am in meetings and I eat dinner and I work a lot in the evenings. I work in the evenings too, Wendy, but I do, for me, I have to plan time off, otherwise I will work. And so I think life balance is the tagline of Studio 9 to 5. And
Yes.
when I worked at CorePower Yoga, I certainly did find my edges of that. I burned myself out, working too much. I was responsible for quite a lot at that time in my career. I was young, and didn't really understand my boundaries yet. And so nowadays, what I've learned is that there are seasons of time with balance. It
Yes.
doesn't have to be so structured that balance is, you're done at 5 or whatever it is. It's really for me, it's really about being able to go grocery shopping in the afternoon if I don't have any meetings, and that's fun for me because there's no traffic and there's ways in which I've kind of like, arranged my life so that it works well for me and I find like a balance that feels right in different seasons of time.
Yeah, that's really valuable wisdom that you're sharing for people. And I am like you. I go with the flow. Am I going to work on the next conference? Am I going to work on recruiting? Am I going to work on, having a podcast? And
Yeah.
so you just have to let it flow. And so really, and it's hard. It's hard as you're younger. You're pushing and you're pushing and pulling as opposed to letting it flow through you.
Yeah.
So great wisdom to teach, absolutely. And so one of the ways that and how I met you was through a dear friend of mine on yours, Leanne Rykoff. She's now leading my community, which is Powerhouse Smart in Minnesota, and they're on a growth trajectory. And she came up with a great concept that we're refreshing, and it's called Power Connect Groups. And we're going to have education experts each month, and you're one of them. And I want to start off by saying thank you for offering to do that because our members are going to get to meet you. But for you to do that, tell me what do you think if you were to say to those people who are learning that you're now available to do that among many other things that people can find you at that are not related to Powerhouse, what will they learn if they sit in and listen to you?
Well, I'm going to be talking about how wellness and real estate come together and that intersection. And we spend 90% of our lives indoors, 90% of our lives indoors. And the wellness real estate is a $54 billion plus global market. It's the fastest growing sector in the wellness economy
Mhm.
right now. And so this is a big, big area to be focusing on, especially with real estate. So I'm really excited to be here to talk more about that. We'll touch on different things to be considering when you're designing a home, like air, light, movement, nature, recovery zones. There's even all sorts of different things to consider, like EMF or advanced HVAC systems or whole house water filtration, dehumidifiers in the basement, just ways in which to keep, design and keep yourself and your family well. But then this could also be applied to larger buildings and larger properties, or even if you are somebody who's architecting, you're working inside of renovating a space. I definitely will be sharing some different types of wellness tips that people should consider as they're going along their design and build process.
Fantastic. And actually, I can't even believe the synchronicity here, but of course we can. You and I both know that that's what this is I'm actually doing that myself. I'm doing a wellness villa. I call it a villa because it's not large, and at this point in my life, my kids are have their own houses or their own spaces. And so my husband and I are, and I'm doing exactly that: circadian rhythm lighting, reverse
Yeah.
osmosis water filtration. And I'm working on that with an interior designer who just got her neuroaesthetic certification.
Love that.
I
That's
know.
really cool. Neuroaesthetic. Interesting. Yeah,
That's so
that's
great. So,
great.
so you're going to have to come to see in Newport Coast and
Yes, I'd
be
love
part
to.
of the education. And I'm so glad that you're teaching these Power Connect groups will be rotating
Mhm.
different, each month will be a different speaker. I'm so glad that we're just getting introduced to you that way. As you know, we have events all year long and we need great wisdoms, and what we call leaders who, messengers for the future, right? As we all.
Yes, well, we do. We need to learn from each other, and also, as a leader, like I often think about how, because I have a team of around 150 people, and so how does the mission of what we're trying to accomplish in the world today, how does it play out in their lives? And I think for any leader listening to this, you know, are you as a company living your missions? And if so, what kind of ways can we activate the community, your community, to live their mission in a broader way? Sometimes it's something real in person, sometimes it's something digital or whatever, digital access to something, um, but I feel like the community is a big piece of making ourselves well and being well. It's actually one of the biggest pieces as I dive more into studying the mind and body connections. I'm like, wow, emotional well-being is a big part of our whole well-being.
That's
So, you know, and where we're going in and out of our buildings are and homes, they're like a just the bigger ecosystem of our own self, right? Because there's what's happening in our homes and around us, our environments, but also um, there's like a micro environment within us that's going on. So that interaction, our perception of what's happening in and out of outside environments and inside environments is is a part of that life balance.
absolutely just brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Love you, Nikki. And so, in doing my research, I know for sure your book is new. It came out in 2025, right?
It did.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so there'll be a link to the Amazon book. And then I know you're doing some speaking arrangements. There were a lot of links as to where you're speaking. Is it mostly in Minnesota or do you go everywhere?
I go everywhere, but it just depends on where the companies are located and where we usually get booked.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Terrific. And then I also saw, if you don't mind just sharing a little bit about your courses online, there's a monthly or an annual, very reasonable. Maybe you could share a little bit about what that is.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, I created a course called Mindful Leaders Course, and this is for leaders who are looking to um, bring mindfulness and the teachings of mindfulness into their practice as a leader, so that they can grow in their communication styles and just in their own embodiment. So if they're anxious or agitated, those types of things um, can be dissolved in their life and they can really sit in a seat as the teacher and leader that they are. So the Mindful Leaders course is online on our website. Also, we just launched the Life Balance Lab Wellness Club, which is more of a in-person and online virtual club. So what we're doing is providing digital content in terms of wellness, movement, nutrition, mindfulness, mental health, those types of topics. And we are doing this virtually and in person with events and regular weekly classes.
Wow. And then you also, is that tied in with the app? Because I just saw you now
That's
have an
the
app.
app. Yes. Yes,
Okay.
that is. It's all tied in on the app.
And Nikki, I think the pricing and everything is so affordable. What was your
Hmm.
thought process? Are you, what is your, you and the team of 150? What are you going to say when you say this was definitely what we visualized for us to accomplish in this world?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have always had a mission of making wellness accessible, affordable, and a part of your day.
Yeah.
And we have set out to raise the health and well-being of our nation holistically through just making these types of wellness practices a way of life. And that's really my what I've saw for myself, and one of my, biggest purpose for me was to be kind of a bridge of bringing um, these types of practices to the masses. So that's one of my specific goals. I see myself when I think back about the yoga industry, where it's just kind of beginning, and Core Power really brought that industry of yoga to the masses. In fact, there wasn't even a boutique fitness market before Core Power, came. It was just big box gyms before that. So, bringing these types of mind, body, spirit connection style, life balance or well-being practices to the world is really what I'm here to do. And I feel that the way we work, live, and where we work and live is a big piece of that. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited, Wendy, about being able to be a part of what you're creating at Powerhouse Smarts.
No, thank you. And I'm so thrilled and honored to meet you and have you on the podcast. This is just so wonderful. I know it was meant to be. We're supposed to be here. And one thing that crossed my mind, we only have a minute or two left, but I keep thinking about my beautiful little grandbabies. And so, is there anything that you're doing for the, children of the future as far as in schools or preschools or anything like that? Or what do you see for that?
You know what? I think schools are one of those buildings that need to be to be looked at. In fact, my nephew is currently in a school that has mold in it, and he has huge dark circles underneath his eyes, and he has, health issues that are going on because he's just spending too much time in the space, and so I actually think this area of looking at the health of our buildings, and I
Yes.
mean, check out the well-being or the well standard. Have you heard of that
Of
before?
course. Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, the well building standard, I think, does an amazing job of kind of outlining what wellness in a building or structure should look like.
Yes,
And
yes.
I think for our next, I know that real estate and renovation is a slow process, but I do think that having some more viable standards that are around this to help us to recognize when something is becoming unhealthy for our health, like even EMF, I mean,
Right.
EMF is a really big deal, and it just keeps getting stronger. And for those younger generations and all their access to technology and having screens right up close to their face when their eyes haven't developed yet already, and their brains are still, developing.
Yeah.
Um, all of that is are things to consider, for the next generation.
Well, yeah, like you don't have enough on your plate. I've just now, brought this to you and your team, but the fact that you're going to be speaking to real estate architects, builders, and designers and developers who do, many of them do work in the education world. So that's a perfect connection there. And I have a couple people I'm going to connect you two up that are also more in the institutional commercial world after this as well. But one of the good things is my granddaughter, who's going to be 4, they taught her in preschool how to breathe.
Oh, I love that.
Breathe
Yes.
in and then blow out the candle.
Yes.
Isn't that
Yes.
so beautiful?
It's so beautiful, and that is true. We have actually brought these types of practices, like self-management practices, to schools as well, and we also work with a huge school district here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the schools are, I mean, if we all had more training just in general growing up on how to manage our bodies, our emotions, our thoughts, all of that, I think we would all be a lot healthier in our physical bodies, as well. We would be more resilient. I know that. And so I do think that these types of practices for the next generation are going to be invaluable.
Yes, the next generation is just taking it in like a sponge, learning from us, and they're going to just keep building on it. And you are such a beautiful soul, Nikki. I am
Thank
so
you.
honored and thrilled to have you in my life now. And I'm going to have all the links of everything so everyone who's listening here can reach out to you. And of course, you'll get to be part of our Powerhouse Smart Expert educators program, and I want to have you as a speaker at our future conferences. And of course, I'm always here for anything that I can ever do for you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I can't wait to meet everybody. And I really, really love having this conversation with you, Wendy. I too feel a strong connection with you and just, excited for what you've built and also what will happen in the future. So thank you.
Wonderful. So goodbye, everybody, and check out Nikki. She is just an unbelievable energy force, life force energy, right?
Yes.
Okay. So